Hello and welcome to this edition of Crossover. I'm Chi Xiaojun with Li Zhongmiao and Lily. You came here actually at the very beginning of the World Expo. We had an episode talking about all these pavilions inside the expo and told us some inside information. I still remember the Australian pavilion, huh?
Right, it was like basically prediction and some brief introduction of the expo at the very beginning of that, before actually the World Expo kicked off. So now it's almost done.
Yeah. It's almost done. So as now we're coming to the end of the World Expo, I guess this is the time for us to have a little review. We are going to comb through, this event and see what are the records. The first one.
You mean like the tops?
Yeah, these tops, the records, World Expo records.
Okay.
And the first one would be the Expo area. It covers the biggest area ever in the Expo history.
Yes.
Okay.
That's 5.28 square kilometers.
Yeah, we can see you've been there for a long time.
But I mean, the 5.28 square kilometers is the total area of the Expo Park, including the exterior area. I mean the functional area. But
within and within the fences, or
within the fences is only 3.28 square kilometers. But the total area is this controlled area. It's about 5.28 square kilometers.
Oh, I understand. So it's like you go through one entry, and then you probably have to walk for a little bit until you enter, until you begin to see the pavilions and buildings.
I mean,
so that's the extended area.
When it's big, it's good because it's spacious enough to hold all these pavilions from different continents.
The biggest area means you have to walk a lot.
Exactly.
I should say it's gigantic because, like, according to my understanding, it's 13 times the area of the Zaragoza World Expo back in 2008.
They should land bicycles in there, really.
That should be a good idea. Or roller skaters.
Right, really.
But those are forbidden for this expo.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can always take the shuttle bus or, rent your own private bus.
Squeeze in those shuttle buses.
Yeah. But at least you still need to walk for pretty long.
Yeah, but I bought a pair of new sneakers, especially for the World Expo visit.
Very wise,
that is
very intelligent.
Smart decision.
Yeah.
Next one is with the most countries and regions and organizations participating.
Now that I've seen that in the news. You reported, probably.
Yeah, I think
205 or something. No?
200, more than 230.
100. Okay.
That include countries and regions and international organizations. Wow. So basically, because some of them are, spent lots of money building their own pavilion, but some of them are participating in the expo through the methods of renting a pavilion.
So there are two types of building.
Two types of it. Basically, for smaller countries, usually they will like to share one big pavilion.
We have those like United Pavilions.
United Pavilion.
Of these African countries.
I think Lily enjoyed African joint pavilion a lot.
You knew that. I bought a handmade giraffe in the United African Pavilion. Okay. I really enjoyed it. And they collect the stamps on those expo passports. And many of them, usually if you go to other countries like Germany, China, whatever, they just give you a stamp. But in African nations, some of them, they're actually handwritten stamps. They would draw a little picture and with very nice...
For each passport, for each stamp?
They
just really take their time, smiling, take their time.
They have, they really enjoy the expo. I mean, through our reports, I can feel the African nations, they're taking a very, very serious attitude towards this expo. I mean, those people are, they're enjoying the expo. They're interacting with the people every day. They enjoy their lives in Shanghai. And I know lots of them love China. They want to just stay in Shanghai after the expo is over. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for them to have that living experience in the Oriental metropolis, like as international as in Shanghai.
And also their pavilions or their expo or their exhibition areas. I mean, sometimes even if it's not a big pavilion, but it's like a small area, but you can really go in and touch everything on the walls. You can play with their drums. You can even, if you want, you can try on their clothes.
Yes,
I mean, it's really interesting. I love the African pavilion.
Yeah, and all those people were wearing their like national costumes. They have like different national costumes, and then sometimes they have dances. You know, they can just pull yourself over and then
just teach you to dance.
Yeah,
there.
I know the World Expo to much extent is about, say, showing all these high-tech developments, but in other sense, it's also a platform to show the tourism, resources of these countries.
Right.
And you don't really have the chance to visit all these countries, but at least you get a feel of what this country is like.
Right. Yes. Exactly. And no, I want to go back to the stamps a little bit. I don't remember which country is it. You know, they have those really big chimps in one of the
right.
You know, and they have one of those stamps in the shape of a chimp, which is really, really cute. And so many people go there to have that stamp. So that a few days later, when I went back there, they actually had a sign that says 张以盖坏, which means the stamp is broken for being stamped too many
guess
times.
the stamp shop is broken out of order. Anyway, I guess I'm just wondering. I mean, we're talking about 230, even more than that, pavilions representing different countries. International organizations and regions, and I just wonder, is there someone or anyone ever who's traveled, who's been to all these different places?
I bet
who covered the whole Expo Park?
No.
I don't think so, no. I would like to, though, but I don't think so.
Yeah, but we'll come to that, actually.
Is there someone that, through all your reports, did you find?
No, not at all.
We don't know, but we're going to show you some examples of these enthusiastic visitors who've come back and forth to this World Expo, and they've been to lots of pavilions. After a short break. Welcome back to Crossover. We've been talking about, say, the most or the records of this World Expo in Shanghai, and there is a first. This is the first time that the World Expo has been held in a developing country.
Right. So China has been the first developing country to host the World Expo, for sure. And I think because this expo is a registered expo, which means it's the comprehensive expo. It's not like a specific expo like the 2008 Zaragoza Expo. Shanghai Expo is a comprehensive one, which means it covers a wide range of areas. But this time the topic is, as everybody knows about it, is better city and better life. So through this expo, I think people would like to address, all the pavilions would like to address the same issue. It's about like what kind of life people will have, in 10 years time, or even closer, like in 5 years time. I think it's a common theme of all the pavilions, and I was really touched by how much effort they paid through their exhibitions.
It's like a development trend that urbanization is happening everywhere, especially in these developing countries, not only in China. You'll see similar things happening in Africa, in South America.
And in so many of those pavilions, when, as Miao mentioned, that they wanted to feature the life in the future. So mainly they're just really about a greener way of living, a low carbon way of living, show, especially like the Japanese pavilion. And then I think there are a few theme pavilions about that.
Exactly.
So you can really see what's your life going to be in like 20 or maybe 50 years. I remember seeing in one of those theme pavilions that you can actually go to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor through a computer.
China pavilion.
Yeah, in Chinese traditional medicine, a doctor has to with like look and then listen and then ask questions, and then chair is like
it's feeling
checking
your pulse, something like that. But in that pavilion, you can do that through a computer.
How come?
Through a machine. They showed us. It's like
the thing is, how can you check the pulse?
No, they would ask you to put your arm in one of those machines, and you can feel like there are senses. I think it's something like red lenses or something like that, and they somehow can feel pulse. And then you should. They have a camera. attached to the computer, so that's why they can see you. And then they can ask you questions for sure, you know, through the computer. And then, you know, many doctors would need to see your tongue. The color of your tongue is a very important symbol.
That's just amazing.
So you show your tongue on the computer and make sure your tongue fits in a specific area. So, you know,
the screen,
on the screen, so that they can start just to diagnose you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like there are lots of inventions like technology and avant-garde and you know, inventions in the expo park this time. Particularly, I mean, not only the Pudong side of the park, which is all about countries and international organizations, but also the west side of the lake, the Puxi side of it, which is the corporate part, and the UBPA, Urban Best Practices area of the expo. Basically, the corporate pavilions, I mean, like the General Motors pavilion, basically depicts a picture of people as transportation in 2030. So you can tell, they tell you a story through a motion picture, but let you feel that what kind of transportation method you will have in 30 years, in 20 years time.
Wow,
so
it's
very different.
Yeah. So the next record is we've got the most number of volunteers.
So
the cute 小白菜.
What do you mean by 小白菜?
Yeah, the little cabbage, this time we call them. It's because they wear this costume, they wear this uniform. It's like white and green.
Right.
So it basically looks like a cabbage.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, and you can, they have like thousands of them every day in the park. Basically, they took turns. There are batches of them, you know, from each university. Basically,
so mainly they're the university students. We've also got pictures of some foreign volunteers.
Yes, there are foreigners actually, expats living in Shanghai. Basically, overseas students.
Overseas students here?
Overseas students studying in China. So you can see they have. You can see volunteers of different colors, actually.
I think that it's not easy, you know, to do the same job day after day and then keep smiling and, you know, stand in the sun sometimes when they're in this position just to show people the way to the gates.
Right.
And I don't know, are there volunteers working inside pavilions? I think there are, you know.
Actually, there are two types of volunteers, actually. Some of the volunteers are actually hired or employed by the pavilion. But those people wearing the cabbage
the little cabbage uniform.
They are volunteers. There's a genuine volunteers. They're recruited from the society. Some of the pavilions, they are absolutely free. Those volunteers are genuine volunteers. They pay their airfares, accommodations. They just for this experience, no salary.
Yeah, but I guess it's just like the Olympic Games in Beijing, and for all those volunteers, it's more about being in there. For that,
being a part of the whole big event,
and it's there for that experience. And you know, years later, in the future, when we talk about this event again, okay, do you know the World Expo in Shanghai? I was there.
I was there. Yeah.
Okay.
And particularly, I should mention those African volunteers. They're particularly popular in this expo. The African people, because their nationality and their, you know. In the bone enthusiasm, you know, they're very willing to talk to people, and they're very popular amongst the Chinese visitors. They would like to sometimes use them as models, take pictures.
Oh, really?
Wow.
That's nice.
Interesting.
Sometimes both physical and mental strength that they have to, you know, deal with. Sometimes, I mean, on average, they have to get up very early every day, 5:30, to take shuttle buses to the expo park. And later on, they work, you know, more than 12 hours a day and leave the park at about like 9 or 10:30. So it's really, really,
tiring,
I think, a very tiring, you know, job for them.
Yeah, a round of applause to all the volunteers.
Okay.
I mean, a round of applause. Anyway, let's just move on. The well-known pavilions, the most well-known pavilion in the park. I guess there are different options and people have different opinions, but among all the, I guess, many Chinese visitors, there would be the China Pavilion.
Yeah.
And inside that pavilion, there is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I didn't get in there. There were too many people.
you have to book in advance, or you get this ticket. Every day there's limited number of people who have the chance to get into the pavilion.
It's a pity. I know that they have this a long scroll painting there that's really lovely.
It's a tapestry of the digital version of the very famous painting along the river during the Qingming Festival.
That was the painting from the Song Dynasty about 900 years ago.
Yeah,
I guess.
See how people lived their life in the capital, in the then capital, Bianjing, was like very interesting.
Oh, so it's Kaifeng now, right?
Yeah.
Bianjing is now Kaifeng.
This is the China Pavilion. Inside there, that's the motion version, the digitalized version of a painting.
Hey, so you see the people moving there.
So you're actually seeing like a documentary of people's life hundreds of years ago in China.
Right.
It's just incredible.
Because lots of famous stars have been to the expo. And China Pavilion is their must-see, and they were absolutely amazed by this painting.
I wish I could be there. But anyway, the China Pavilion is going to be there after the. That's one of the permanent buildings.
Is the painting going to be there?
The painting going to be, going to be torn down temporarily and moved to Hong Kong for an exhibition. So people in Hong Kong will get the privilege.
But again, it'll come back.
Yeah,
so
it'll come.
We'll have the chance to see it.
Basically, people because the China Pavilion will resume its operation in December, so people will get the chance to see that.
Okay,
good. And hopefully at the time it won't be that crowded.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, more records about the World Expo.
And the Italian one was really nice. The British one, the English one, was the conception at the building outside was very well put together. The actual construction was fantastic. Yeah.
I was just this German one. From outside, it looks very nice. The architecture would be really impressive.
沙特馆嘛，沙特馆我感觉最好的就是那个立体那个投影。
在新加坡的话，如果在楼顶上建造花园这一理念，我觉得特别好，因为把绿色引到了那个空中。
I very interesting this garden. The environment is very beautiful and very friendly.
And welcome back to Crossover. Well, more about this masterpiece in the China Pavilion, more records. And the large screen is basically a wall of LED screens. It's an LED
It's
LED screen.
It's actually produced by the same team who did the Beijing Olympic Games opening
there is
ceremony.
a scroll painting on the ground.
They're actually the same team.
It's the same idea.
So you can feel like people are moving for the first time. Because previously, when we were a little kid, we saw this picture in our textbook.
Right.
And then it was like all there. It's very still. But this time, everybody is moving. There are altogether 815 people in this picture.
815 people.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just thinking, because in all these auctions, and sometimes the price and different facts influencing the final price of an item in auction. So sometimes it's the size, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the number of the characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the number of figures inside there.
Yeah.
It involves the complication of working out the final product.
Yeah.
So if you count all these heads. It's going to be extremely expensive, yeah?
Particularly after the expo. When it got
But the thing
publicized.
is, this itself is a national treasure.
Yeah, it's already
yeah.
it's already a national
We need to have the
treasure.
painting first and then the LED.
Remember, we don't have documentaries, we don't have, video cameras
But that
at the time.
painting, really tells people back in the Song Dynasty, which is like 1100, around 1100.
So
something.
about 900 years ago.
Yeah, about
Right.
1100. Anyway, it really tells how people live at that time, and it also shows people living in the cities and also in the rural areas
Right.
and different economic activities there.
And how people were dressed.
Right, so detailed. You can get a glimpse of the clothing and the architecture and everything. It's amazing.
And I think for this time, it's for this digital version, it's the differentiation lies it's change of the time, because you can see the people's life in the whole day, because they have a light day version and a night version.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
So at one point, the sky will get darker, everything will become the lights, light up, and then you see the river glowing,
Even fireworkers.
Yeah, even those lanterns.
Yeah, and the nightclubs will start working.
And then there were mixed music.
Right. So I think it's incredible. I mean, the most heard adjective for this to describe this painting is impeccable.
Wow.
And the original version of this scroll painting, it's 24.8 centimeters by 528.7 centimeters. Itself, it's a huge one. That's over 5 meters long. Wow.
Now it's like 100 meters. It's all over. When you were like enter this this floor and you saw this, it's just.
It's like you are within that city yourself.
Exactly.
Everyone just walking around you.
Right.
I mean, these days, because we have all this digital technology and it is easy for us to record anything, even for average people. Just remember at the time, and how can we know that how people lived at the time 900 years ago? This is where we got the information.
I believe lots of people, foreign visitors will be very jealous because they don't have such a national treasure.
We have a documentary from 900 years
exactly.
ago.
Yep.
Well, let's just move on then. The next one is basically about the most interactive activities, because all these different pavilions, they've organized different events inside the pavilion to involve all these visitors, and talking about interaction. And there is one example in the German pavilion.
Yeah.
Oh. I know.
You know that, right?
Okay, now this one I have been into, finally. They have this huge metal ball that would actually respond to sound. So they would divide the visitors in two groups. So and each group would start to yell. And then
make some noise anyway.
Well, they have to make noise at the same time. When the noise is loud enough, the ball would start to sway up. And then when the ball stops swinging, and it actually shows pictures of visions of the earth, I think, like the oceans, the lands, everything.
Is there a competition going on? I mean,
there is something
There
like
are
that.
people actually. They have like people in their bicycles or scooters actually working. They're rolling along,
mobilizing all the visitors inside.
Yeah.
That's
It's
like an
just
eyeball.
that, yeah.
So which side is louder, then the eyeball will be moving to which direction?
Right. It is swinging up to
they
that
have
side.
like
It's swinging. And there is
staff
the mobilizer.
They have a staff member, telling people, now, make noise, now cheer.
And when, and how can we be sure that when it will be moving like this in a circle and when it will be dangling from one direction to the other?
I think they will stop you at one time.
Right. And then there's this program that will go on. I think it's automatic.
This is fun. I've never been to this pavilion
You
myself.
should. It's
it
very
took
popular.
me 2 hours to get in
Is that
pavilion.
building going to be there permanently?
I'm not sure. It will take probably 4 hours for you to wait.
4 hours?
4 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, then I was lucky then. It took me a little bit over 2 hours to get in.
Because that maybe the day that you chose is
Probably
a rainy day or something.
it's not it was a rainy day, and it was not a weekend, so
Okay.
I guess it's good.
Yeah, but No, but if you compare that with the 9 hours queue for the Saudi Arabia pavilion, yeah, that is a lucky one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, talking about this huge metal ball in the German pavilion, it's 1.5 tons heavy. Right. Well, that is.
Really big.
How come it moves so smoothly?
I don't know.
It's 1.5 tons.
They have a hoist in at the upper part of the pavilion, actually, like a crane or something. But I'm sure everything made in Germany should be.
I think so,
Germany
right.
must be very stable.
Really high tech.